Hello, welcome back. I'm Miniature Mike, and I figured this time I'd give you the part two for the Sith Lords. If you haven't checked out part one, definitely go check it out. However, that video though, unfortunately, is had some audio issues, so it's a little quiet. So if you do check it out, you have to crank the audio up. Unfortunately, hopefully you can crank it up to listen to. Because I got a lot of feedback that there's some problems with my microphone, and I think I've resolved them since then. I haven't heard anything since. So let's jump on into this. This is part two. And there's some pretty cool ones in here. These ones are, I kind of feel like the Sith Lords are different phases. You have like the early ones, like the Champions of the Force ones, even in some cases the Legacy of the Force ones too. But then later on, you get some really just like interesting, very expensive Sith Lords that some cases aren't actually that good, but they're very expensive. In some cases, they're pretty underrated in my opinion. So let's take a look first at Darth Talon. So Darth Talon, she costs 56, but her stats are terrible for 56, but there's a catch. So she's 110, 20, 11, and 20. And so overall, you can see that she's special abilities, she's got unique, loner, so that 11 very easily is going to be 15 in most situations. She's got mobile and twin, very nice, and stealth. So it's going to be really, really hard for those ranged characters to zone in on her, and she can kind of jump out and strike. And then her force powers are pretty cool. So she's got Force 1 and Force Renewal 1, so like she doesn't start with a lot. But her powers are cheap. Like she has Force Bubble, which is awesome defensive power. Yeah, when this character takes damage, reduce the damage dealt by 20. So it's not an attack. Like you could use Force Bubble on anything that you take damage from, and that's pretty sweet. And then Force Lightning 1 is a nice little like mini, guaranteed short range 20 damage power. So overall, I think she's super, super fun, but you have to use her for what she's made for. So, quick look. What hit points? Yes, bad. But her range survivability, fantastic. I think the melee survivability is actually not bad because when you're mobile, like you can use your mobility a little bit, and you have twin, so like you get that can help a little bit in terms of like approach and just kind of dancing around, I guess you want to call it. Force Bubble's very handy, so you don't have the most hit points. Well, every single round of battle, you're going to be essentially, absorbing 20 damage, which is crazy. Until you run out, of course, but because it's cheap power, I don't think you're going to run out anytime soon. Attack is solid. I'm factoring in having Loner, because that's going to help a lot. But if you don't have it, maybe it's not so good. Max damage, not the best, because she really, when all said and done, she can only do 40 damage. That's it. But she can move and use it, which is nice. Special abilities, fantastic. Suite of special abilities, like that's awesome. Being able to, you have stealth, have the immobile attacking power and stuff. I think she's got a great set of abilities. Her force powers, I think, are pretty great too. They're not like over the top crazy, but Force Bubble is awesome. It's cheap. Force Lightning is useful and versatile. It's cheap. So, and she has Force Renewal, and even though she has one force, don't matter. I think they're really helpful powers. Her powers synergize pretty well together overall. It's not crazy because you can use your mobile and stealth. That's true, but I think she's more of a versatile character. Like she can use the stealth, she can use the mobile attack, she can use her powers in lots of various ways to kind of get a job done. And I think it's pretty sweet. So I think she's a little bit more versatile rather than just kind of like a lot of things going together for one thing. But in that sense, it kind of is too. And for Sith Lords go, I give her a solid 4. I think she's pretty great. As much as I love the powers, like she does cost 56, and she does have horrible stats. So if she gets caught maybe in the wrong way, you could probably like knock her down pretty quick. But I don't anticipate that happening too often. So I think she's awesome. She's also very expensive. If you try to buy her one off, she's about $100. I was lucky I got her for a bit cheaper than that. But summary, she's an awesome melee stealth piece. She's cheap, and she has effective force powers that are, it's very easy to not run out of them. And then it's best if used to, keep enemies alone. I totally botched that. Basically, you want to hit and run enemies by yourself, essentially. Maximize loner. That's it. I totally botched that. I gotta proofread these more often sometimes. Next one is Lumiya, the Dark Lady. I think she's pretty underrated in my opinion. I know on Blue Milk she's kind of more of like a middle score, but I don't know. I think she's pretty solid. So overall, you got great stats. She's a little cheaper, so 53, 140, 20, 12, and 20. So still a little bit better in the stat department. In some ways similar because she also has stealth. So she's got pilot, cyborg, evade, very nice, awesome against those range characters. Melee reach, and the cool thing is that she could approach a range character with melee reach, attack them, and if they want to attack her back, they have to get right next to her to avoid using evade, or they'll have to deal with having that. So I think she's got great kit, awesome kit to defeat range characters, in my opinion. Double attack, melee reach 3, awesome. Regeneration, that's helpful, especially if you need to get away, or if you're fighting melee people, you can kind of get a little extra every turn. Stealth, awesome. Having stealth and evade is pretty wild in my opinion. And then force power wise, force 4, and then force push 2. So not that crazy. Like force push 2 is all right to use a couple times, but whatever. And then kind of overall solid, really pretty dang good hit points. Amazing range survivability. Like I think she's really good at knocking out those range people because she has stealth and evade and melee reach 3. It's a good combination of things to knock those guys out. Against melee people, that doesn't really hold up as much. Like I think melee reach 3 can be okay because you could approach someone, attack them, and then they would have to come to you and they'd attack you once, and then you could use your double attack and stuff. So I think having that is a little advantageous, and then regeneration 10 will come into play, but there really isn't anything there to expressly help in that situation. 12 attack for 53 is a bit underwhelming, so I kind of knocked her down. I know Talon has 11, but I'm really counting her as 14 or 15 most of the time, so she doesn't have a way to modify it really, so it's not good. Max damage is not good. Special abilities, I think her special, but she's crazy. Like these are awesome special abilities. I'd want them on any character. You even have self-destruct 40 for fun, so if you do have people like a melee person that is up against her kills her, well they just took 40. That's a lot. Pretty sweet. Force powers kind of more mediocre. Force push 2 is nice. You use it twice. That's it. Or maybe re-roll with evade a couple times, whatever you want to do. Abilities, I think they do synergize really, really nicely together, really, really well. And she's very versatile, so I think she can just kind of do a lot of different things because she has evade and stealth, and that just makes her have so many different options. So her Sith Lord score, personally, I think she's better than Blue Milk says. And I'm curious what you guys think about her too, because I don't use her very often because I like using some of those very rare Sith Lords more, the expensive ones, when I'm just kind of messing around having fun. But overall, I think she's pretty good. Solid melee reach unit, probably the best one in the game actually, and she's cheap. If you want a really good Sith character, in my opinion, that's like dirt cheap, pick her up. So I think she's very underrated considering all that she brings to the table, like so much to the table. Her melee reach 3, I think she's the only character in the whole game with melee reach 3, which is pretty cool. And then I think she's a nightmare for melee fighters to kill because of self-destruct 40. And then also, I should say, she's also kind of a nightmare for people with guns. So really, just a really tough piece to try to defeat and get around if you use her correctly. So I think she's a 4. I think she's really good. Blue Milk was a 7.75, so out of their scale from 1 to 10, people weren't as high on her. Like, that's good, but I think she's better than what the community thinks, personally, but that's just kind of me. Darth Malak, so this is the other one. That's way better than the original Darth Malak. So this Darth Malak is cheaper in cost at 49. He's 130 hit points, 20 defense, 16 attack. So that's the best he can get. 20 damage. We got melee, double, and deadly, and then duelist, and then force power is really nice ones. So you got 2, renewal 1, force lightning 2, always great. Some force stun, really nice power. And then Sith Rage is, kind of a staple for most Sith. And then his commander effect is great. Just all followers get a blink at +4 attack. So the original commander effect, I think, was like followers within 6 squares get essentially like synchronized fire or something like that, which is not worth it. This is not good. So this guy, so much better. I really like his combination of force powers. I think they're really, 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 really good. So, like, they're all so useful and so effective. And so let's take a look. Overall, I think his hit points for 49, pretty solid. His range survivability, he doesn't have anything at all to help him with that regard, other than just having nice defense and some hit points. So he just doesn't have anything, so I kind of had to knock him down. But his melee survivability is pretty great. Mostly because the duelist will come into play. Force stun is awesome, so when you're dueling people, you can get them to lose their activations against you, and it doesn't replace attacks, which is awesome. So pretty good. And attack, 16 is about as good as it gets. Max damage of 4.8. The reason why I'm saying max damage of 4.8 is for the reason of he's a 49, he has extremely high attack, and he has Sith Rage that he could use anytime. So that's basically like guaranteed 60 damage, pretty much. And a lot of other people, they might have like Sith Rage and things, but they'll be like maybe 12 attack or something. So for someone who costs 49, people will have outrageous damage when they cost like in the 60s or 70s. But he costs 49 and he's going to guarantee 30 damage on you. A lot of people can't say that. And he can do it whenever he wants, essentially. And, I think that's underrated, personally. So that's why I kind of went a little generous on giving him that. Special abilities, I think they're solid. I don't really put a ton of weight on deadly attack. To me, it's more of a cherry on top power where it's like, oh, go from 5 to 10% critical hit rate. That's an improvement. It's double, but it's not like too crazy in my opinion. And then Duelist is nice. So I think he's solid, but for someone who's a 50, I think his abilities are just kind of like right on par with what you'd expect. His force powers, though, I love them. Like I already mentioned, I think all three of them extremely awesome and useful. So many situations. Big fan. I think his abilities synergize pretty good together because you have double. That works well with, if you're in duelist situations, that'll come into play. And then when you need a counterattack, you have double attack. You have rage, or you could use stun if you want to get them to maybe lose their activations. Really nice. And then I also think he's pretty solidly versatile. He's mostly supposed to be kind of like a duelist specialist, although he's missing, like block. But lightning helps a lot to make him more and more overall, like the versatility is solid. I think his commander effect is great. Just giving all followers +4 attack. You just kind of pair him with, other Sith or fringe characters that aren't commanders, and that could really, really, really benefit a lot of people. So I think it's just a nice, maybe 4.5 is too high, maybe 4 is better, but it's a really, really nice and solid commander effect. And for Sith Lords go, I think he's fantastic. I gave him a 4.5, which on my scale is about the same as what Blue Milk thought about him, 8.8. He's huge upgrade over the original. I don't have him. He's one of the few. I have almost all the Sith Lords except for I think 3 of them. And he's definitely kind of next on the list because he's just, he looks like he's a lot of fun. Definitely a lot of fun. So overall, an expensive piece, about $80 to collect. That's kind of the average price I saw on eBay. And boiling him down, much better than the old version. Awesome commander effect. And then having stun for melee fights, I think can be really, really nifty to give him an advantage in a lot of situations. That's why I love the Sith. They have stun, they have sorcery. It's pretty awesome. So let's move on to Darth Sion. This is my controversial take. He's an expensive mini, $220. I think he's terrible, in my opinion, and I'll explain why as we go into it. So he costs almost 70. He has 110 hit points, 17, 11, and 20. So those stats, and we'll get into why. Those stats are horrendous for someone who costs 70. Those are horrible. Those are stats you'd probably assign to someone who's like 25, maybe, or 27. And then he's got special abilities, just melee and double, and then duelist, so he's a little better, against the melee people. But otherwise, it's pretty lackluster for someone that expensive. And then force powers, he has a limit, force 5, so he's all first to say he has rage and riposte, which is fine, but the thing I don't like about rage or riposte is his attack is so low that if he's fighting, a solid enemy melee fighter, he might have a 50-50 chance of hitting him, which is pretty bad. Most melee people at this range, they're going to be seeing 13, 14, 15, 16 attack with other powers to guarantee higher attack, and so they will hit. So you don't know if he's going to hit or not. But the whole thing, this guy, Darth Sion, he's like the Sith Lord who can't die, essentially. His hatred keeps him alive forever. So Force 2, whenever this character would die, he makes a save of 6 or higher, 75% chance. On a success, this character is restored to full hit points instead of being defeated. So when you read that, and when you go on to Blue Milk, 7.89, you think, oh, it's the greatest power ever, oh my gosh. But if you take a look at it, you can only use it twice. And you have other powers. So you have these 2 powers here, and if you want to maximize Eternal Hatred, you can only use either one of these once, and even if you do, it's probably not going to work that well because of your low attack. So you might say, oh, well, it's not a big deal. Just pair him with Darth Sidious hologram, give him some force renewal, and he can use Eternal Hatred tons of times. Okay, that could work, maybe. But, you know, he's going to have no force powers anyways by the time, you know, he eventually does die, and he has terrible stats. So, in my opinion, even if you do use Eternal Hatred, and maybe you use it a couple times, or you pair him with people to help him out, like, it doesn't matter. Like, he costs 70, he costs like half of your squad if you're doing 150 standard. He costs half your squad, basically, and even if you bring him back a second time, or a third time, like, what you're getting every time you bring him back is terrible, in my opinion. So it's like, oh, he didn't die, like, he comes back to life. Okay, but he still has 17 defense. He still has lousy attack for someone that's that expensive. He still has only 110 hit points. So, like, if you're against, like, I mean, you pair this guy up against, like, Darth Vader Jedi Hunter from Universe, and I think he would wipe the floor on Darth Sion. Just totally wipe the floor on him, because he would kill him in like 1 or 2 turns, like 2 turns easily, just knock him out in 2 turns, and then then he's like, okay, well, I come back to life again, and then if he's lucky, he'll land a hit, 20 damage. Okay, and then Darth Vader kills him again, and then if he's lucky, he comes back again, and then Darth Vader kills him again, and then he's like, I don't know, I'm out of force by then. So we'll go through relative to his 70. And I know why he has bad hit points. His bad stats and powers is just because of Eternal Hatred to try to balance him out. But honestly, if you put him down to like 60, I think he's over-tiered. I think he's overcosted, honestly. And I know why they costed him a lot. Probably they thought this would be super powerful, so they wanted to be careful, but they went too hard. So hit points, terrible. Range, survivability, none. Melee survivability, decent-ish, you know, having 21 defense. Maybe using riposte, maybe once, I don't know. If you use riposte too many times, then you can't come back to life, so it's kind of a weird trade-off. His attack is terrible, his max damage is terrible, his special abilities, you know, like having Duelist saves him a little bit, but it's mediocre. His force powers, I think, is overrated because they're limited. There's always the chance that you don't succeed, and then you paid $70 for someone who's this bad, and that's a possibility. That's a lot of risk that I'm not willing to take. His abilities, none of them synergize together very well because you know, if you wanted to use Rage with double attack, go ahead. It probably won't work. And then his versatility, I think he doesn't have very much versatility either. I'm so harsh on this guy. Sith Lord score 1.5. I think he's terrible. Like, to me, he's like a stay away character. Like, of course, I want to collect him. I don't own him. He's very hard to find because of his rarity. So I definitely intend to collect him. And I'll probably, like, when I do collect him, I probably love to play with him just to, like, try it out. But just kind of thinking through the scenarios in my mind, I just cannot see how this guy is any good, personally. So that's my hot take of the day, I guess. Yeah, I haven't really seen any good things with him. I just don't envision much success with this character at all. So I think he's overrated. So you need to have Darth Sidious hologram to at least help him a lot. Even if you do have that, though, you know, Darth Sidious hologram is 20, so now you're paying like 90 points to have this guy with force renewal, limited force renewal, and I'm over it. His survivability, attack are way too low to do anything. So, like, even if he comes back a lot, he'll just keep dying the same way. Like, it's not like he gets stronger or something. It's not like he starts strong, maybe gets weaker. He's just mediocre for all the lives if he gets them. So, we'll move on. Darth Sion, you know, cool in the lore. He's a piece that's hard to collect. If you have the opportunity to get him, go for it. But he's terrible in the game. So, I'm just going to die on that rock. Darth Maul, Sith Apprentice. He's 43. I've actually reviewed him already on my Darth Maul video. If you haven't checked that out, definitely go check it out. It's one of my earlier ones. Darth Maul's a pretty cool character, but this guy he's not the coolest version of Darth Maul, but he's interesting. So 20 defense, 11 attack, 20. He's got triple and Vapad, which is pretty cool. I think Vapad's nice because if you can triple your critical hit rate, you know, 15%, and you're attacking 3 times, Like, hold on a second. Let me look up what we're looking at there, right there. Let's see here. I will be right back. Okay, I pulled up my probability calculator here. Let's see what we got. Yeah, it's pretty good. So the thing that's kind of cool is when you have deadly attack, or when you have Vapid style, but then you have lots of attacks like quadruple, triple attack. I think when you have that scenario going for you, then deadly attack and Vapid are super, super helpful. So in this case right here, when you have Vapid style, and then you have triple attack, your probability of hitting a critical hit is literally 1 in 3. That's so high. That's like super, super, super high. And so if you're in that situation where it's just like, hey, yeah. So if you're in that situation where it's just like, okay, what are my odds of at least getting one critical hit in a salvo? When you have this combination together, having it 1 in 3 chance is pretty sweet. So I think the only person in the entire game who has a similar chance, obviously, like Mace Windu, similar situation as well. But I think it's Luke Skywalker, Hero of Yavin. He has quadruple attack and deadly, and it comes out to slightly higher. It's about 34-35% chance of success on just getting one. And I think he has flurry attack, so he's even better on banking on the critical hits. But still, I think that's something that's a little underrated about this guy, is that his critical hit rate is just 1 in 3 or 33%, and that's actually pretty awesome. Really, really, really awesome. And that's for the whole attack. So you use triple attack, and you'll probably get it once. So basically, you could probably maybe count on one of those hitting, maybe, but we'll see. But yeah. So Force 2, and this is the part that sucks. He only has Force 2. Night speed's nice. Riposte it's nice. A little bit low attack though, but still pretty solid riposte. It's nice to have. And then Sith Rage could be pretty sweet with his triple. So, yeah, kind of my deal with him. I'm kind of so-so. Things I like, things I don't like. His hit points are fine. His range survivability and melee is not all that great. He has no way to defend himself. Riposte is helpful, but I'm a little nervous to use it because I'd like to keep Rage and maybe Night Speed, but it's an option. So it's not the worst. So that's why I didn't give him 1, but it's okay. His max damage attack is not very good. So for a 43, it's having 11 attack is probably the low end of the whole spectrum, the distribution. But his damage is awesome. When you can get the max damage going, and when you can get Vapid, you have that high rate for getting critical hits. Your max damage is great. Special abilities, also pretty solid. I'm giving him a 4 because he's got the triple and the Vapid style, and together they synergize awesome. So that's why for force power is not great, but for ability synergy, I give him a 4 because I don't think it's a crazy incredible one, but that's kind of what he has going for him, and it's pretty cool. So I'll give him a 4 for that. Versatility, not as versatile. I think he kind of ranges like his whole identity around being a glass canyon and just brutalizing you with those attacks. So overall, I think he's solid. I think a 3 is a solid ranking. I don't think he's incredible. I don't think he's bad either. He's just a solid Sith Lord. They could probably find ways to make him better. I don't know. Heck, maybe pair him with Malak. We just talked about. Give him that +4 attack. Now we're talking a little bit more scary. So there's ways to make him even better. And he's only a 43, so he's one of the cheapest Sith Lords. So you could probably pair him up with someone better, and they'll probably help him out a lot potentially. So pretty cool. Blue Milk score is 7.12, so that's about equal to what I was saying. It kind of tracks. $40, a little harder to find, but not too bad. Not too bad at all. So in summary, you can get some decent offensive combos off. Very decent. It's very limiting force points. There's not very many options. You could fix that with, as we've already said, Darth Sidious. Actually, if you pair him with Darth Sidious to get like renewal, maybe get him up to a few more force points. Then Riposte is much more useful. Rage is more useful. I think he actually could benefit a lot from being paired up with that character. And then even with the offensive capacities, he's also, because he doesn't really have much defense, range characters can knock him out pretty nicely. And then melee characters can too. I do like that he has Night Speed, so he could maybe approach those range characters and knock them out quick. But still, I don't know. He has his pros and cons. I really do love the triple and Vapid style mixed with Rage. But other than that, he might die. So Next on the list, the other continuing our Jedi Academy, ones, is Darth Plagueis. So Darth Plagueis to me is interesting. I think on one hand, it's easy to look at him and be like, oh my gosh, he's incredible. And yeah, I think I think that's just right. But I think he has some serious holes, so you gotta watch out for it. So looking through, he's 63. It's pretty pricey. He's got 120, 20, 13, and 20. Just melee attack and parry. That's it. Parry's nice. It's nice that he does have that, and it's nice that he has force renewal. So he should have a lot of force points to deal with if you want to reroll parry. So that's definitely a very, very nice thing to help him with melee people. And that's kind of what he specializes in, is that melee, close combat, force power duel, essentially. And his force powers got some great ones. So you have Essence of Life. You can help allies. You can support them, help them stay alive, potentially. You have Force Corruption 3 and 4. So 3 is pretty cool because it's you can shoot a target, and each character adjacent to that target, they're all corrupted. Which is pretty wicked powerful if you think about it, but it's to replace this turn power, so it's something that maybe you'll use more tactically. And then Force Corruption 4, I'd say, is probably his main one-on-one power, is just being able to do Force Corruption, 40 damage. That's a lot, because you will do the 40 damage, and then you may do more of that damage afterwards. And one thing I actually don't know, they probably do stack, but I'd love to hear from the community. Does Force Corruption stack every single time you get hit by it? So if you get hit by it over and over and over again, do you need to roll, say, for like 3 saves of Force Corruption? Or is it just like a one-time, like, you're corrupted, you get hit, and you're just corrupted, and that's it? I don't know. I would think that it does not stack, because being corrupted is just like a state that the character is in. That's kind of how I read it. So each time the corrupted character activates, he must attempt a save of 11. So to me, while I read it, it's just like rip attacks, range 6, 40 damage, and the target's corrupted. So how I read it is like the corrupting doesn't stack, but I think you still dish the 40 damage out regardless. So I don't know. I'll have to read about it. It's probably in errata and FAQ, so I'll go take a look. But either way, I think he's got some cool stuff going for him, but he's some drawbacks. So for a 63, he's got no hit points. His range survivability is absolutely not there. That's his Achilles heel. But his melee survivability is awesome. He's got parry. That's it, though. And then he's got some other things as well, which is nice. You could force renewal to parry, potentially, if you need it. And then he's got some pretty sweet force powers to help. His attack, he's not really about max damage and attack. That's not really his thing. But if for some reason you need to, I suppose you can. And then special abilities, I gave him a 2.5 because even though he has no abilities, he has parry, and that to me moves him from like a 1 to a 2.5. So that's something that's really, really helpful, but it's only helpful for the melee situation. So special abilities, so his force powers, I give him a 5. When you have this kind of arsenal of damage and destruction you can do to people, especially short range, and against, this guy's really meant to use these powers against melee people, you probably, super awesome. His ability synergy, it's not, I don't feel like his power synergize great, but they kind of do. Hear me out. So you want to use parry, so you want to be close to the melee people, and then when you're close to them, you'll be in range to use your corruption and stuff. So I think it's a little bit, like, yeah, sure, there's some synergy there, for sure. But overall, like, I'm not overwhelmed by his versatility or synergy. He's not he's not crazy versatile because, of the limits he has with, he can't attack much, he can really only hit close people, and his power is limited in terms of range. But he's versatile because you can use Essence of Life to support your team in some really nice ways. So I think it's kind of in the middle, it's solid. His Sith Lord score, I'll give him a 4. I think he's pretty cool as a Force duelist. He's $60, so expensive, but not as crazy as some of the other ones. So Darth Plagueis, he is a very fun piece, but I think he's kind of limited in some ways. Like, I think ranged people will destroy him if you're not careful. Force corruption options can be pretty deadly. And then he feels like an expensive support piece. So that's the thing how I feel about him. It's like he costs a lot, but at the end of the day, sometimes I kind of feel like he's meant to support another Sith, maybe. Or another piece in helping them, mop up the board. And as a really expensive support piece, it's kind of tricky. But either way, like I think he could do that role fantastic if you put him in the right squad. So overall, I like him a lot. He's kind of quirky, really, really quirky character, but overall, I think he's pretty sweet. Darth Sidious Sith Master. I think he's solid, but maybe not quite as great. So we're looking at 57, a 120, 19, 15, and 20. So one thing that's kind of interesting about the Darth Sidious is they're always very squishy. They have no defense, like no defensive powers, and they have low defense relative to, you know, kind of other characters around their range, but they always have high attack. So it's like they're squishy, but they can dish it back sometimes. We're looking at melee and triple. His force powers is Force 2, Force Renewal 1. So he's got Lightning, he's got Pawn of the Dark Side, and then he has Master of the Force 2. And you'll have to help me out. I don't understand why he has Master of the Force 2, because both of these abilities are replaces attacks, so you can only use them once. And so it's like, you could use Pawn of the Dark Side, but then what are you going to do for your other force power? So it's like, and he's not a force battery, so like people can't use, I have no idea. So I think giving him Master of the Force 2 is kind of weird. Doesn't really have a use for it, unfortunately. But he has the Lightning's good, and Pawn of the Dark Side's pretty sweet. We've seen this before on Clone Strike. So he's got Force 1, replaces attacks, Sight, one non-unique ally, any non-unique ally can take an immediate turn. It does not count as one of your 2 activations this phase. At the start of the turn, that character takes 10 damage. So if you kind of pair this up, and this thing I do like about this guy, I think Pawn of the Dark Side and his commander effect are super, super cool if you use them correctly. That's why I call him a master manipulator, because you could use that character, Pawn of the Dark Side, you can move him up, and then he can maybe, if he's the right character, do lots of damage, be pretty awesome. And then you can have him swap with somebody else who maybe is like more defensive oriented, that can maybe, and you can get the other guy who just did all his activations, maybe he's vulnerable, take him out of play. So I think Pawn of the Dark Side and his commander effect is a really awesome combination of things. And even though it's limited to 6 squares, just get some mouse droids, you can make it better. So I think he's pretty cool if you plan around these 2 powers working together. So overall, I think he's really good. He's got his problems, but I think he's really, really good. His hit points are bad. His survivability in general is just bad. So I'll get that out of the way. His attack, though, is good. Very good. Max damage is very solid. Having triple and high attack, he will land the attacks. He's got yes, I gave him a 3 for special abilities, because even though he's a 57, he does have triple. And I think that goes for something. Like, if it was just double, I'd knock him down to like a 1.5, but getting that extra attack off is pretty nice, at least when you cost this much. His force powers, I gave him a 4. The reason I'm giving a 4 is because, I don't know. So he has Force Lightning, I do like it. So 4 it's a good one, but I think it's more of like the combo of his Pawn of the Dark Side and Commander Effect working together. I think Master of the Force 2 is just, I don't think it's very useful on this character. I don't think there is a use for it on this character, except for like, you know, moving 2 squares and then using Pawn of the Dark Side or something, or, you know, re-rolling something twice, I guess, if that happens. Great. Overall, though, I think I like them. They're overall pretty nice, but they're not as, you gotta think about it more. His versatility, though, so his ability, synergy, I didn't think about. So, triple attack doesn't really synergize with anything else. Master of the Force 2 doesn't synergize with anything. Force Lightning doesn't, it's just kind of its own thing. Pawn of the Dark Side and his commander effect. So, I'll put it this way. I don't really think of it as ability synergy. I'm more of like versatility on him. I think commander effect and Pawn of the Dark Side, I think those are very versatile combinations. So you can do a lot of very interesting things. You can kind of manipulate the battlefield really, really well with those powers if you use them together. So I put my stock more into him being a very versatile piece rather than having just outrageous synergy in his powers. I could see it both ways though, but still pretty good. Commander effect, very solid. I don't know why I just gave him a 3.5. I'd probably move that up, actually. I'd probably move to like 4.5. And the reason is, though, is when you have the ability to swap allies, I think it's really powerful. I know it's not like Masamata where you can do it all over the map with, you know, Thrawn and stuff, or Pananka, but you have some mouse droid that takes care of it. So overall, I think I misdid this guy. I think he should be higher than a 3.5, not a 4. That's just, if you're listening to this whole segment, that's kind of what I'm going for. So, Sith Lord score, very solid. And I think Blue Milk gets it pretty right. You know, it's at 8.14, 8.17. And yeah, pretty cheap. So lots of bags and tricks, but he comes with some standard Sidious squishiness. So if you're not careful, he'll die like in 5 seconds. And then I think Pawn of the Dark Side and his commander effect can be a pretty awesome manipulating tactic. So I'll leave that on the table. Pretty cool character. So we have 2 of these left. I'll go a little faster since I'm taking forever. So 140, 21, 14, 20. He's got double and Virulent Poison, which is really cool because he'll probably hit it most of the time. Force powers, he's got Force 2, Force Real 1. Force Storm 2, it's decent for, I guess, you know, swarms of adjacent characters. Illusion's nice, Master of the Force 2, and Illusion's great. And Instant Sorcery, so awesome set of Force powers. Goodness gracious. So what we got here, we got he's solid hit points for a 64. He's right on par, so I give him a 3. I think his range and melee survivability is crazy because he has, you know, solid hit standard. He has solid hit point things to go for him, but then he has illusion and he can use it twice, and I think that is so strong. And then he has Sith sorcery, so when he's close enough, he can make people activated, and he can continue to use force points if he wants to. So definitely with him, you got to charge up your force powers, but geez, pretty sweet. Attack is pretty solid. His max damage is awesome. I know it's just double and 20 damage, but Virulent Poison, like, you got a good shot of doing 80 damage, or at least 60 damage every time, so very nice. His special abilities, very solid. I think I should have done it more, personally. I think I put this Virulent Poison, I kind of counted it more into his max damage, but it's also kind of an ability, so very solid. His force powers, I think this combination of force powers is pretty nuts, so I gave it a 5. Ability synergy is good, very crazy versatile. His abilities synergize awesome together with Virulent Poison and double attack, and then being able to use his sorcery so people can't do things. And if you use his sorcery and they re-roll, well, they can't re-roll against these. It's just crazy. And I gave him a 4.5. So I think personally he's one of the better Sith Lords in the game, and that's just one of my takes. Blue Milk gave him an 8.44, which, when you put the scale together, is a little bit lower than what I would have put him, but I think he's awesome. And I don't know what to call him. I just call him a finesse duelist because he just got these really sweet force powers that you can use. Virulent Poison's kind of a fun thing that you add on to it. So overall, very underrated mini. He has all the special abilities he needs to be deadly. So like, he just has 1 or 2, and they're good enough. But his force points are outrageously powerful, and you need to charge him up. So if he can charge his force points up before he goes into battle, he will kill everybody, in my opinion. Very, very deadly, very hard to deal with, and so I think he's awesome. Last Sith Lord, we have Freedon Nadd, 150, 22, 14, and 20. So he's cheaper, 55, but he's got nice, pretty solid stats. And he just has double melees, it's kind of lame. Force 2, Force Real 1. He has Dark Force Spirit 1, just like Exar Kun. Sith Rage and Sorcery, so I like that combination. His commander effect is allies without a force rating within 6 squares get 4 attack. So it kind of reminds me in some ways of a variation of Malak's, but a little different. So maybe a little bit worse, but this affects allies, which is nice. So overall, I think he's a really good piece. Got some kind of ups and downs. Great hit points. He's got his range survivability isn't as awesome because he doesn't really have anything expressly helping him out, but that high defense will make him hard to hit. His melee survivability is pretty solid overall, because I think having Sith Sorcery can, and that's really all he has going for him, is that Sith Sorcery, if you use it, you can make people skip their turns. Helps survivability quite a bit. But that's kind of it for him. Max damage is decent. He's got Sith Rage, but at 55. I think I gave other people higher for Sith Rage, but I think it's because they had higher attack. But overall, max damage I think is a little above average. His special abilities, I might actually stop using numbers and just use letter. Like, let me know. Would you guys prefer me to keep using numbers here, or do you want me to just put in what I actually mean, like average, above average, below average, etc. If you comment, I'll make a change. But if you don't care, I might just keep doing what I'm doing. His abilities, I don't feel like they synergize. They're solid for their synergy, but nothing crazy outrageous. He decently versatile. His commander effect, I think, is nice. It's a little bit limited, but it's a good one. Like, that's why I gave him a 3.5. So it's definitely above average commander effect. And as a Sith Lord, I gave him a 4. I think I might have overrated him a little bit, but for some reason I just kind of like him. Like, I like how he's great stats. I like that he's cheaper and has Dark Force Spirit 1, which I think will be more effective, essentially. Because if you have Exar Kun and he dies, well, you don't have much left on your army you don't have much left in your squad anyway, so even if the enemy is losing force points, it might not matter at that point. But for him, it could be more effective. I think his command effect's kind of fun. I like his powers. For some reason, like, I think I should have given him a 3.5. So if I redo this, I think I knock him to 3.5, which is still solid, but he's good. He's good. I think he's just a versatile Sith duelist. Very expensive. I have his mini, not the card though. So if you have a card and you're looking to trade it, let me know. I'd be happy to trade it for you. But I think it's better for him to have this than, Dark Force Spirit 1 than Exar Kun. Really low cost. His commander effect is nice. You can combine it with a lot of options because it does say allies. And I think overall he's got really nice stats. So let's move on to the summary. I changed my color scheme from blue to orange in case you're colorblind. So that's something I actually do at work. I make a lot of charts at work. Use a lot of orange, gray, and blue. Besides, I think I like this a little bit better at the heat map. So you got Darth Talon going on overall. Mobile Stealth Assassin. Very good. Just watch out. Those base stats are pretty rough. The Lumiya, the Dark Lady, overall, really, really great. Not great force powers. And, maybe she doesn't do as much a good job in terms of, like, attacking, like, not having, like, lots of attacks and stuff like that. But she's definitely a tough thing to deal with. So I think she's pretty great. Darth Malak, Darth for the Sith, a great duelist overall. Maybe not really meant to fight against ranged characters, but I think his commander effect will help tremendously for your whole team. And overall, he's great. Great duelist. Darth Sion, nothing going for him really. If you get lucky and you can keep bringing him back forever, well, you got the most out of him. Congratulations. Darth Maul Sith Apprentice, a little tricky. He's not very survivable. Definitely a glass cannon, but I do think that max damage potential with his special abilities is really what sells him, and if he can make that work, he can do some cool stuff. So he's a solid Sith Lord. Darth Plagueis, also pretty solid. Terrible against the range characters, but if they get close enough, and especially if he specializes against those melee characters, he's got some fun force tricks up his sleeve. Darth Sideous Sith Master, overall, I think he's very squishy. Like, hit points, survivability, very, very bad. But I really like how he can manipulate the battlefield. If he can make that work for you, I like I like Pawn of the Dark Side and his commander effect working together. Could be pretty cool. Darth City and then Naga Sadow. Overall, I think he's awesome. Like, I really don't see weaknesses with him. Honestly, I think overall, just rounding him out, I think he can do everything so well because of his force powers. Very awesome, and then that Virulent Poison can give him some awesome edge on attacking for the most part. So, geez, I love Naga Sadow. I think he's fantastic. I really do. I know if you look at this, Darth Malak is rated higher than Naga Sadow, and I think that's for good reason too. I mean, gave him a 4.5. Both of them gave him a 4.5, but geez, Naga Sadow's pretty sweet. And then Freedon Nadd, overall, I think he's pretty solid. I think his special abilities kind of hold him back. His force powers are kind of cool. Nice commander effect overall. Just kind of a versatile character. But anyways, I'll end it there. Got a baby that just woke up from her nap. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this last video. Apologize if it took way too long in terms of, this was like a 43-minute video, and I did like 14 Darth Vaders in like half the time. So I'll definitely try to make sure I pick up the pace in the future. But please let me know what you guys think about this set of Sith Lords. Again, they're all pretty cool. Again, I don't like Darth Sion that much. I do want to collect him though, but like you can see, my Sith Lord score, like what I feel about him and what the community feels about him, is obviously completely different. But you gotta have some of those takes sometimes if you're gonna be doing this. But overall, please please subscribe, and yeah, again, comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these Sith Lords, what you think about them, and to kind of keep that conversation rolling. So until next time, I will see you all later.